In October 2021, we bought our dream home in Italy. In today's video, we're going to tell you about everything we learned during that process because it was quite a challenge.
It was interesting. And if you stick to the end, we're going to give you one great little tip to remember when buying property in Italy. We're Debbie and Stain, and this is our Italian destiny.
Our plan was to travel through Italy for 7 months, going from the north all the way to the south and back. But when we made it to Umbria, something changed. Something was different here.
It was beautiful, wasn't it?
So we got into the inevitable conversation of, could we live here? And I then looked online, see what property goes for, what it costs to live here, essentially, what the weather's like.
Yeah.
So showed some houses to Debbie, and one in particular stood out for both of us.
Which happened to be the one we bought.
Yes, it was actually the first one we saw.
It's like, can we go see it?
Yeah. Now, the problem was, not all houses here are actually listed with their true address, and the same applied to the one we ended up buying. Fortunately, each house here, or many houses, have a name, and part of the name that was given to this house was part of the street name. So I was able to sort of figure out, well, it might be in this area. So we took a drive and kept our eye out, because many times you'll see houses here who have a Vendici sign in the front without even being listed with a realtor. In those cases, you could get a good deal because you might be the only people knowing about the house being for sale.
Yeah. Oh, Vendici.
Once we'd found the house we thought we liked, time to contact the realtor and schedule an appointment.
Stain got a hold of the realtor to tell her we would love to see this house. Now, what was odd about that was she said, we need to make an appointment and see when the sellers are available to show you the house. Okay, well, wait a minute. You're the realtor. Why are they showing us the house? Interestingly enough, there are no lock boxes. The sellers come with keys in hand, pre-open the house, open all the windows, turn on all the lights, so you have a nice experience of seeing the house they hope you're going to buy. What's really nice about that is that you can actually ask them questions. So one of our tips is that make sure you look around and see what is there and what's not there. So for us, there was no kitchen. There were no light fixtures. They had a bunch of furniture in here. A lot of it we didn't like. And our sellers were very nice. She actually offered to leave the dining room table and leave a beautiful antique buffet. And there were some other pieces of furniture in the end when we did buy the house that were still here that we had to end up throwing out ourselves. So that's a great tip right there. Or one thing that we want to share with you is know that the sellers are probably going to be there with you to see the house, and that you get specifics from them on what's staying and what's leaving.
Well, we had a successful viewing and we're interested to pursue this property. So we reached out to our realtor to start negotiating and put in an offer. As I said before, houses can be listed with multiple realtors, and actually this house was a personal listing of our realtor, and therefore she represented both the seller as well as us. Now, when we moved on to the negotiating stage, because she was representing both sides, we didn't have to go through all the paperwork. So we put in an initial verbal offer, which was passed along and presented to the sellers, and after some back and forth, we ended up agreeing on a price and on some other terms. Next step was the contract, the preliminary contract. Now, here's where Italy surprised me. Italy is probably known as the world champion in bureaucracy, and the contract was pretty simple. It was right here. This preliminary contract was just 2 to 3 pages, pretty simple, listed the price, listed when we were supposed to close, listed how much down payment there was, and how that was supposed to be paid. This brings me to the next different aspect of the sale process here in Italy. There are still a lot of financial transactions that occur between the buyer and the seller directly, one of which was this down payment. So in our case, it was roughly 10% of the purchase price that we had to pay through direct deposit, or through a bank transfer, I should say, to the seller. Now, it made us a little bit nervous because we just had to pay them a certain amount of money without a guarantee that we would have this house. Within this preliminary contract, there is determined a date by which this transaction has to complete. If one of two parties causes a delay beyond this due date, then there's a payment, there's something that is paid to the other party. In the buyer's case, in our case, we would forfeit the 10% down payment that we made. In the seller's case, if they decided to pull out, if there was something that delayed it beyond this agreed upon date, we would get twice our deposit. So there is a sense of confidence when you pay this amount that they have a lot of skin in the game, and if they don't get all their ducks in a row very quickly to meet the deadline that's listed in here, then you could actually receive twice the down payment that you made. Well, we were super excited to find out our offer was accepted, so we moved on to the closing process. Now, our experience in the US is where this too is the process where you head over to a title company, you sign all the paperwork, as do the sellers, on a separate date and a separate location potentially. Here, it's another party. Everybody gets together, the sellers are there, we were there, our realtor was there, as well as a translator, and it's a very formal event. They read the entire document out loud, and they have everybody sign, and there was the formal handover of the keys, which was like 2 pounds worth of keys for us. But so it's still a very formal process, and again, it's an opportunity for you to see the sellers. We had a little gift for them, so it was really a nice process. We loved being able to have the sellers there and experience it with us and be happy with us. We could tell they were very emotionally attached to this house, as we are, and we were already back then. And we've actually had them over already for a dinner to see what we've done to the house. Well, we've made it to our last tip, and it pertains to these guys right behind us, the olive trees. Turns out that in Italy, there's an unwritten rule that when you sell a property later in the year, you still get to harvest whatever crop was present on this land. So we have 12 olive trees, and we actually almost got caught, didn't we?
We did. So we planned on having a little olive harvesting party.
Yeah.
The 12 trees that we have had a great abundance of olives. And so I planned a little get together, set a table. We were going to have a charcuterie board.
Yeah.
Friends were going to come over and help us harvest the olives. Then we were going to go over to their place and help them harvest the olives, because this is something they do in Italy. And then you got
2 days prior, I get a phone call from the previous owners. How about tomorrow we come over and harvest the olives?
What?
Immediately, I didn't say no. I reached out to our realtor and asked, okay, what's the deal? It's like, oh yeah, I didn't think they would be interested because there's only 12 trees. But yeah, this is common where if you sell a property, they still get to harvest whatever they sort of cared for throughout the year.
Yeah.
So that's one last big pointer. If you're buying something that has producing trees or brushes on it, be it fruits or olives or something else. Yep. It could very well be that unless you specify it in the contract, you'll get a visit from the sellers to take what belongs to them in Italian custom.
Yeah, exactly. We don't know where that cutoff is.
No.
But we bought our house in October, so they basically cared for the olives throughout the whole year. So they were entitled to them, and they knew it, but it wasn't in the contract. So make sure you put that in the contract if you want your olives.
Or at the very least, bring it up.
Yeah, bring it up. So that brings us to an end of our experience of buying a home in Italy.
We hope this helps you kind of get to grips a little bit and perhaps makes you feel more comfortable about pursuing property in Italy, because there's some great value in a lot of properties here.
Yeah.
And if there's things we didn't address or questions you have beyond what we talked about, please pop it in the comments and we'll be happy to address it. I'm sure at some point here in the near term we'll do a Q&A and we can address some of the questions that we've been tallying up over the course of the past while.
Yeah. And we still have some videos to show you of the renovation of the house that we did. And
now it's turning into what's called festa season.
Yeah.
Festivals all over of various kinds, be it from, hazelnuts to
snails.
Yeah, this weekend there's a snail festival. So you'll probably see some of the content as we visit those places as well.
So stay tuned and
we'll see you in the next one.
ciao.
Ciao.